Alrighty then. Who are you talking to? Yo, what the hell is that, bro? Yo, what the hell is that? What in the hell? What in the hellion? What in the hellionte? What the hell is that, bro? What is that, bruv? Anyway. Good morning. Good morning, good morning. Freedom marchers, freedom family, freedom lovers, and freedom fighters. Snapzilla Gorillas in the building. Hitting y'all with this live stream because, man, the hypocrisy is real, y'all. The hypocrisy is real. But we're gonna get into it, right? And we know where the hypocrisy is and why it's there. Brother Shelton, salute to you this morning. Man, you this shit is crazy. Brother Daryl Anderson, salute to you. Yeah, man. We're gonna get into this, man. It's been a wild past few years in the sport of boxing, in regards to just all the hate that particular fighters receive for God knows whatever reason. Because, you know, typically you don't get this level of ridiculousness and controversy surrounding the sport of boxing that we are getting today. And, you know, a lot of it surrounds one particular fighter. And that one particular fighter gets the most hate. And of course, also a couple others, you know, like Terrence Crawford and whatever the case may be. Who am I cooking? I'm cooking numerous people. Mr. Pity Pat is just one of them, right? But to me, he's the biggest hypocrite because he's been complaining about the rumors about Tonka Truck Davis retiring. And he said that there's a campaign to push Tonka Truck to retire, right? As though there is no other, like we're just saying it. Like we want Tonka Truck to desperately retire. We desperately want Tank to retire when that is not even a little bit of the case. Tonka Truck wants Tonka Truck to retire. By his own words, he has said multiple times that he wants to retire. But when we use his words against him, or not even against him, when we use his words to let people know that, look, Tonka Truck, his head is not even in the game, man. His head's not in the game, and that's pretty evident. Salute to you, Lucas Games. I appreciate that. His head is not even in the games, man. And when you explain that to people, when we talk about how Tonka Truck is not trying to push his career forward, how he's not trying to challenge himself, how he's not trying to fight the best fights, how he's not trying to unify and all these different things, well, we have a reason for that, right? Tonka Truck has his own campaign to retire. You understand? So why isn't he complaining about Tonka Truck having an agenda and a campaign to retire his damn self? No, he wants to push it on content creators and fans that recognize that Tonka might need to step away from the sport for many different reasons. And, you know, what's funny is he's talking about that campaign, but he's also, and him along with a couple of others, you know, reported ahead. Manager Marty and those type of cats that keep harping on this Devin Haney being on PEDs or having some impropriety with VADA and Victor Conti and all this stuff, right? Well, you're pushing baseless campaigns based on pure speculation, right? Pure speculation and hate. That's what it comes from. It comes from hate and pure speculation. You hate, it's hate for Devin because Devin is a Tonka Truck's contemporary. Devin is Shakur's contemporary. Watch out, vehicle on and they aren't doing what Devin has done in the sport, right? They're not doing it. At Devin's age, Tonka Truck was still like not fighting anybody, right? He was still at 120 or 126 and 130 or whatever the fuck, and he wasn't, you know, or he might have just got to 135 when he was Devin's age, and before he got there, he wasn't really doing much at all. Like, I mean, so Tonka Truck has never been interested in being on the level or trying to do things Devin has done in the sport, or even things that Terrence Crawford has done in the sport, or people like that. It's just not him. But these cats, they want it to be him. You know what I'm saying? But it's simply not possible because he's just not there. He's not there mentally. He's not there.
Watch out.
You know, resume wise, he's not there in any sort of capacity. And he keeps telling y'all, look, I'm done with this sport. I hate it. Y'all can have the #1 spot. You know, we have a reason. It's not a campaign by us. It's just us pointing out the obvious. But when we talk about Devin Haney and VADA and Victor Conti and weight gain, and now they're back on the rehydration bullshit. They're back on that. They're back on Devin supposedly gaining 25 pounds after he fought Regis. They're back on that now. They have to go all the way back to the winter of 2023 to try to paint Devin in a light of being a cheat.
Watch out, vehicle on shoulder ahead.
Because they had, can you shut? Because they have nothing else. I don't even know why it's. Hold on, y'all. Why are we doing this? I mean, they have nothing, man. They got to go back to 2023, December, to talk about Devin Haney weighing 165 or some shit. Oh, he gained 25 pounds or 30 pounds or whatever it was. Look, that's cheating. You got, I mean, it's bullshit. Now they're saying, oh, there's a conspiracy for Devin to cheat Brian Norman Jr. by gaining 20. Like, what are we talking about? What are we talking about? You know, it's not cheating because it's not a rule, it's not a law, it's not something that can be violated unless you're in the IBF, right? You fight in the IBF, that's a different story. Both fighters can't weigh more than 10 pounds. But, I mean, listen, man. This shit is crazy. Now Devin is going to cheat Brian Norman Jr. by gaining weight, by rehydrating. Rehydration is part of the sport. And I'm getting tired of these dudes that they don't know jack shit about anything. They don't know nothing about training. They don't know nothing about different techniques and tactics while training for training for a fight. Like people getting on Devin for doing hurdles. Oh, he's getting ready to run. He's doing hurdles. You do hurdles to improve explosiveness. You have to be explosive to do hurdles. You're jumping off the ground with your feet. You're using your entire body. It's not even necessarily considered cardio unless you're running and doing hurdles like you were in track and field. But even when you're doing that, you're sprinting and you're jumping. Those are both explosive movements. Sprinting and jumping are explosive. You have to be explosive to do those. And if you're training and doing hurdles and sprinting, you are training for explosiveness that you can transfer to the sport of boxing to improve power, to improve explosiveness, like I said. And then Pity Pat said, talked about how Devin, and I don't remember hearing this anywhere, but this is what he said. He said, Devin said that when they asked him about gaining that 25 pounds or 20 pounds or whatever they say it was, Devin said, oh, well, yeah, I drank too much water. And he was suspicious because Devin said he drank too much water. And he said, oh, Devin would look bloated. Oh, he would look bloated if he drank too much water. Oh, boy. And that tells me you don't know jack shit. Don't know jack shit about training. You don't know jack shit about cutting weight and rehydrating. You know nothing about it. That's what that tells me. Right? Because, and this is why exposing this nonsense is important. It's not because, it's not just because I hate knockoff pity pat or I despise him or I don't respect him. No, it's because he's pontificating about Devin drinking water and what that means and what that should mean. But that's not the case, because if you are cutting weight and you cut a bunch of water weight, what you're doing is you're draining your muscle glycogen. Okay? Glycogen is in the muscle, right? So if you deplete your glycogen stores, right, you're not going to have any water in the muscle. So a person could easily, and it's not, water doesn't just go to your muscles, by the way. It goes to other organs. Every organ needs water, including the brain, including, the heart, including the lungs, everywhere, right? And so when you talk about a man or an individual that cut a whole bunch of water weight, and not just water weight, some fat. Now, if you don't have a lot of fat to begin with, well, you're going to be cutting into muscle and water weight. Now, when you lose a bunch of water out of your muscles in the form of glycogen, what happens is when you rehydrate, the water goes to your organs and it goes into your glycogen stores in the muscle. So when he said Devin looked like a Power Ranger against Regis, well, that's why, because when he drank the water with the electrolytes and the carbohydrates, most of it is going to go to the glycogen stores. It's not going to go to the stomach. Okay? Water doesn't go to your stomach and settle in your stomach when your glycogen is depleted. And when you have depleted water in your organs and in your brain and in your muscle. No, it's going to go to the most crucial points first. The muscle. So when you get water in your muscle, it's going to make the muscle look bigger. It's going to make it look like, it's going to make him look like a Power Ranger, so to speak. So that tells me you have no idea what you're talking about. If you are dehydrated, that means you have no muscle glycogen. That means you're depleted in your organs and in your brain. And when you fill back up with water and carbohydrates, it's going to go to those places first. And then you might get a little excess water in your stomach or in your gut. But you're not going to look bloated simply because you rehydrated. Even if it's 20 or something pounds, right? Because again, muscle, for every carb molecule you get, it absorbs 4 water molecules, right? So if you fill up with carbs and water, well, that's going to go. That's what's going to happen. So you're not going to look bloated. But of course, people who have no idea, just like he does, they're going to take that and they're going to run with it, right? And they're going to call, oh, Devin must be cheating. Well, okay, let's say it wasn't water, right? Which is what he suggested when he says that. Well, what else could it be? What else could have made Devin gain 25 pounds? Muscle? So am I to believe that you believe that Devin gained 25 pounds of muscle in one night? I mean, it's just nonsense. That's not what happened. Queen Mother Tequila, salute to you. Yeah, spamming ain't gonna work. But I mean, the bottom line is this, man. the campaign is really against Devin Haney, right? And this whole thing about Gervonta Tonka Truck Davis retiring and all that, it came from him, right? We got that from him. We got that from his actions, from his words. We're not on a campaign to push Tonka Truck to retire. That's not what that is. It's not a conspiracy. It's not none of that. It's what he wants. It's what he wants. It's what he says every few weeks or few months. He's putting it out there. And all we're saying is, well, it's reflecting in your actions. It's reflecting in the way you're moving in your career. So if you want to get mad at somebody about a campaign, well, that's who you should get mad at. You should talk to Tonka Truck Davis about putting it out there that he wants to retire. Don't get mad at me because I'm using his words to explain, using his words and his actions to explain why perhaps he should retire. I mean, real talk. I think he should retire because, you know, his head's not in it. And that's not a campaign. If he doesn't retire, he doesn't retire. I don't really give a shit. The only reason I do care is because he's holding up the 135-pound division, right? He has the WBA belt. He's not really doing anything with it. He's not unifying. He hasn't had a mandatory since 2022. So, I mean, what are we doing? What are we doing? You know, if he... So, look, here's the problem. This is why I think he should retire. Not because he can't no more. Not because he's not still talented or not still in his prime. No, it's because he's not moving like an elite boxer, but he wants to be treated like one. And he's not going to be willing to get in his proper place in the sport, which is probably like a gatekeeper, right? Because if you think about the Lamont Roach fight, I mean, it was really like he fought Lamont Roach as a glorified gatekeeper. He's a glorified gatekeeper with a belt at this point, because he's not presenting himself as a challenge to fighters who are trying to rise to that level in his own division. Beloved Air, salute to you. Yes, we're agreeing that it's best for boxing. It is the best for boxing. So if let's say if Tonka Truck Davis was willing to be like a gatekeeper in the division, you know, and test fighters coming up and test fighters coming into the division, like he did with Lamont. Now, Lamont Roach technically wasn't a gatekeeper fight because Lamont Roach was a champion at 130, right? So he moved up to 135 to face the champion at 135 in the WBA. But I mean, who really believes that Lamont Roach could present a real challenge to someone like Shakur, you know, someone like Keyshawn, right? Or someone when Keyshawn was a champion, or even Lomachenko. No one believes that Lamont Roach would have been able to do anything with those guys like he did with Tonka Truck Davis. So Lamont Roach essentially could have used Tank as a stepping stone to those guys if he wanted to become a champion at 135, or if he wanted to start to unify at 135. It would have been a great gatekeeper fight. But Tonka Truck would not be comfortable in that position. Like he wouldn't appreciate that, right? He wants to be looked at as this great fighter without having to do the work. And so that's why he's talking about retirement, in my opinion, because he's constantly being challenged by people that don't have the wool over their eyes about him. And he's tired of the pressure. And people are starting, even some Tonka Truck fans are starting to look like, man, what is this guy doing? KK says, let me tell you something. People like you all over the internet all that crap, you never going to go anywhere unless you know why, because complainers never win and winners never complain. KK, what are you talking about? What am I complaining about? Whatever. It is what it is. So, yeah. There is no campaign to push Tonka Truck to retire. We're just highlighting what he already said he wanted to do. We're just highlighting it. We're like, okay, look at what Tonka Truck said. This is what he said out of his own mouth. These are his actions. It is what it is. Murphs dropped a super chat. Salute to you, Murphs. I appreciate you. Daryl Anderson says, Tanks want to be like Canelo. The problem is Canelo has a complexion for the protection. Exactly. It's not going to work out for him. By the way, salute to Stormy B, man. I got this hat from him. Y'all go check him out. But anyway, man, it's crazy. But of course, these are diversion tactics by people who really they really do hate Devin because their fighter is not doing what Devin is trying to do. And you know, that's why I don't want to just, like, there are other fighters out there that we can support, like that's not Tonka Truck, that's not Devin, but instead of highlighting them, we're just going at the one fighter and trying to act like the other fighter is being persecuted. Tonka Truck's not being persecuted. All right, people just want him to step up or move the fuck on, right? We got other people in that division. We got Abdullah Mason, right? We got Floyd Schofield that's showing some promise. We had Sean Davis, but we know what that's about. We got other fighters at 135 that we can, kind of bring to the forefront. Maybe it's time to, put Tank to the side and highlight these other brothers that are coming up that are really doing something, that really are a challenge to Tonka Truck. Shakila says, why is KK even here? I have no idea. Thanks for the view and the comment. Hit the like. Yeah. Listen, I'm not trying to be mean because there's so many people like you, brother, and I know you're a hardworking dude. I respect. But look, we are living in unbelievable times. KK, I don't know what you mean. But that, I guess, thank you. I don't know. But anyway, yeah, so there's no campaign to push Tonka Truck to retire, but there is a campaign to make Devin appear to be a cheater, to make him appear to have some level of impropriety going on with VADA and Victor Conte. Now, that's an actual campaign. It's a witch hunt, though. It's a witch hunt because there's no evidence. There's nothing. Oh, well, Victor Conte used to be and they go with this whole guilty by association thing. Well, if you associate with people that did this and did that, you're going to look bad. No, Sheldon, you ain't got to do that. Free speech is all good, man. KK says this country was designed for everybody, no matter the culture, to race, it doesn't matter. No one's talking about any of that right now, KK. You're a good-looking guy. You're smart. Create instead of reselling other people's stuff. Who am I? I'm not reselling anything. You create something, you can do it, man. I'm not reselling anything. But if that's what y'all want to run with, that's okay. I'm not reselling anything. See, that's what happens. People don't want to get called to the carpet for their own words and their own actions. And that's what I do. It's okay, though. But, I'm not reselling anything. Right at this point in time, I'm saying what's on my mind. I'm using my own words. You understand? I'm not doing anything with anybody's. I'm not reselling anything. And if I highlight someone else's channel for good or bad, so what? I'm bringing my own thing to it. I'm not just playing their shit and just sitting there. No, I'm showing what they're saying so that people can see, right? Instead of just, you know, just saying some shit. But the problem is, people want to be able to put out whatever they want to put out and not be challenged. And when they get challenged, then it's all about, well, like you said, reselling content. Oh, you can't make, oh, you using my content, react, blah, blah, blah. Well, you put your content out there. When you put your content out there in the ethers, on the internet, you are subjecting yourself to reactions. You're subjecting yourself to reactions. And that's just what it is. So, yeah, I mean, you can say what you want about, reselling people's stuff. It is what it is. Oh, I know, Shelton. It's all good, though. I mean, I know I don't have to explain myself, but that's just what it is. Like, but people, they use that to try to get you to pull back or guilt you or some shit. Oh, you using my content, my hard work. Well, guess what? Your content and your hard work is still out there in the format you put it out there in. So what? I am using fair use to react and to educate people about what's really going on. Like when those cats, AM Sports Media, put those lies out there about, what Osterine does and doesn't do, and I was able to take their words and, use actual facts and research to show why that is a lie and why it's bullshit. So it's a tool, right? It's a tool out there. So if people putting out misinformation and nonsense, you should be able to counter that with the real shit and actual evidence in science and research. So that's what I did. Just like I'm going to do with Manager Marty later on tomorrow, because he's putting out bullshit and I have evidence and receipts to show why it is bullshit, right? And it's his fault that he put his shit out there. So when someone counters it with the reality and some actual facts and evidence, you can't get mad at the person that presented the facts and evidence. You gotta roll with it. You gotta understand, if you putting shit out there dishonestly because you want to push a narrative, well, people are probably going to come for that. Oh, what were we talking about? Yeah, Janitor Cooney, exactly. No, it's okay, Sheldon. He ain't doing nothing. He ain't really doing nothing wrong yet. No, KK says, Beloved Air says you can't tell people what to say on their platform. Exactly. Now, if you have a problem with what someone says on their platform, and you're going to talk about it, well, it's a good idea to have something behind it, right? Some substance behind it. So that's what I'm bringing, and that's what I brought today when I'm talking about how KO and these other people are complaining about a campaign against Tank to get him to retire. Well, Tank has his own campaign to retire, and people are talking about it, right? But on the other hand, you're talking about you're pushing a campaign against Devin to convince people that he might be a cheater. But no one complains when content creators in the boxing space and other spaces use bigger platforms. They use their content to react, and they use their content to talk about stuff, but no one complains about it, right? It is what it is. Oh, because they're a bigger platform, because they got millions of subscribers. Y'all use content from boxers. Y'all use content from entertainers to react to. Y'all use content from musicians and artists, right? to react to it. People, that's what people do. Coach Hudson, salute to you, brother. Good morning. I mean, it is what it is. Just cause well, that YouTuber only has 20,000 subscribers. So if you use his content, then there's a problem. But no, you can use Cardi B's content. People can go to Cardi B and pull Cardi B's videos and audio and talk shit about her. No one complains about that because Cardi B has millions and millions of subscribers. At the end of the day, a person who has content is a person who has content. It doesn't matter how many subscribers they have. So if you talk about Diddy, if you talk about Donald Trump and Epstein and all these people, you're talking about another person, just like you're a person. So if someone takes your content and uses it and use your own words to have their own discussion about it, now you want to get mad. These guys, they take people's content, and they use it all the time. But it's only because, that content creator, or it's only because the people they're talking about appear to be out of reach to them, right? You can't contact them. You can't. If you can send them a DM, they'll probably never respond to it. Well, so what, right? You're still using their content. You're still talking about that person. When people put Devin Haney's name in the title, they put Terrence Crawford's name in the title, Tank Davis's name in the title, it's par for the course. Otherwise, what are they going to talk about? What are these people going to, even if they're talking about fights that are coming up and they're using footage, right, as clips to talk about how a person might fight, or they're talking about a basketball player or whatever, and you're using them to create content. You're using them to create content. You're using them to drive traffic to your channel. But that's not looked at as a bad thing. So if a content creator that uses other people's content to create content has their content used to create content for someone else, there's a problem. No, there's no problem with that. It is what it is. You know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, this is what people do. This is what the news media does. If Benjamin Nosferatu says some crazy shit, if Donald Trump says crazy shit, or if they say good shit, what do? They take clips, right? They take clips of these individuals talking about something, and they make content from it. If Donald Trump says some wild, crazy shit, or if he says what appears to be a lie, and they want to fact check him, don't they take Donald Trump's words and then they say, oh, well, this was a lie, this is what really happened? Oh, well, it's Donald Trump, so that's okay. Yeah, of course it's okay. It's okay for Donald Trump. It's okay for Knockoff Pity Pat. It's okay for me if somebody takes my content and they feel like I said some bullshit, or if they feel like I said some good shit and they want to share it and they want to highlight it, or if they want to break it down, critique it, and fact check me, it's their right to do so. You know what I mean? So, and that's where they use that to distract. They use that to distract from what you're really highlighting, because they want to make it about me attacking them because I'm taking their words and I'm showing people what you said. These are words that came out of your mouth. I'm not cutting, splicing, editing. I'm not doing none of that. I'm playing your words from beginning to end, and I'm showing people what you're saying. And I'm asking questions, and I'm like, well, where do you get this information? Or, no, that's a lie. This is the truth. I'm not doing what AM Sports did when they said that Bill said that Devin Haney was damaged and cutting and splicing, and you could tell it was cut and spliced. No, they did that to manipulate the information. They used Bill's words and they manipulated what Bill said to push a narrative. But because it's Bill, it's okay. Because Bill is a millionaire. So Bill's a millionaire. He's a well-known, it's okay to use millionaires and billionaires content and use it against him. But you can't do that to a YouTuber. Nope. You can't do it to a YouTuber because they put in so much hard work. They put in all this hard work to lie and manipulate and spin narratives. So when you expose them for that, that's why they get mad. Not because you took their content and their hard work. No, but they will guilt you about it. They'll use sign language. They'll shame you. They'll guilt trip you into, oh, well, I don't want to look like I'm taking someone's content. I don't want it to look like I don't have my own content or I'm not original enough. So I'm not going to, no, fuck all that. I don't give a hot damn. Beloved Air says, keep doing what you're doing. You're doing great. I feel like every good conversation in different subjects to the table. Yes, because I do have something to say, and I will say it. Because I believe in freedom of speech, and I believe in self-censorship as well. So if you don't want to hear what I'm saying, or if you don't like what someone else is saying, simply don't listen. It's called self-censorship. Or if you feel like, well, maybe what I'm saying is too derogatory or too offensive, well, it's your own decision. If you want to make the decision to censor yourself to protect other people's feelings, that's on you. I'm not doing that unless I want to. If I don't want to say something because I don't want to hurt somebody or I don't want to make it seem like I'm attacking them, I make my own decision not to do so. Right? And this is what we have to understand about freedom and freedom of speech. And I always push freedom. I always push the message of truth and freedom. Freedom is not comfortable, right? I don't know what it is about people who believe that anarchists, such as myself, that we're delusional. Like we want a utopia. And no. People like myself that understand what freedom is know that it's not comfortable. It's dangerous, right? When you depend on the system for so long that you feel is keeping you safe, you have this idea that the government and all the government services you have keeps you safe. If you need it, you can't live without it. What's going to happen if it's not there? Yeah, if you live under that delusion for decades and decades, yeah, I sound crazy. I sound delusional to some people. But I understand what it comes with, right? It comes with extortion. It comes with force. It comes with murder, right? It comes with genocide. It comes with famine like we got going on in Palestine. That every time that there's a famine, every time that there's mass starvation, it has to do with a government causing that. Government creates destruction. It doesn't produce anything. So, yes, well, I don't want free healthcare. I don't want free government services. I don't want none of that shit. You know why? Because there's nothing free that comes from the government. Yeah, you think it's free healthcare. You think it's free school. You think it's free. You think all this shit's free that the government provides? No. They extort to get that shit. They extort you. They extract in order. They can't do anything for themselves. What has the government actually produced on its own without using us for it, without using our money, without, you know what I'm saying? The only people that profit from what the government is doing are the private corporations and the private contractors that build weapons for the military, that build these nukes, that build all these things, that build the satellites and all that shit that we send out and all. The government doesn't make that shit. They give our money to private organizations to build that shit, and then they get kickbacks. It is what it is, and this is the reality of even in boxing, right? People think they need promoters. People think they need, always relate, promoters and sanctioning bodies to the government, because there is an illusion. There is this, for whatever reason, people believe that, well, it's not for whatever reason. It's because you have been convinced that there is a need for promoters. There's a need for sanctioning bodies and all these different things, when all they're doing is extracting. It is the boxer. The boxer is the one that's needed in the sport of boxing. So I'm not saying, am I saying, oh, the government body should go, or the sanctioning body should go away, or there shouldn't be promoters? No. It's the fact that they need to know their place, though. The boxers need to be at the forefront. The boxers need to have more control over the sport of boxing. And it needs to be understood that the boxers don't need the promoters more than the promoters need the boxers, right? Promoters should be tools to sell fights. The sanctioning bodies should be entities that facilitate a ranking system or whatever, so that you understand where your place is, right? How elite you are, how good you are, by going up against other great fighters. Well, of course, okay, so let's have a system that we understand and know, that has no funny business going on, that if you beat this fighter, where you're going to move up in the ranks. Every time you beat something, more and more, beat a fighter, more and more challenge, you understand where you're moving up. But that's not what's happening right now. So it's in shambles. And that's why people are moving the way they're moving, because behind the scenes, the payola's going on, and certain fighters, they get a pass. They don't have to fight their mandatories, or they haven't had a mandatory in years. They got these rules that aren't being followed. And so, certain fighters get away with shit that other fighters don't get away with. And that's the problem, right? No one has held Tonka Truck's feet to the fire in his entire career until the last couple years. And that just so happens to be when he started talking about retirement, real talk. Because even early in his career, certain funny business has going on with the sanctioning bodies to kind of keep Tonka Truck at this level that he really should not be at. Like when he got the WBA super belt, when he fought Cuellar, right? It was supposed to be, they were supposed to be fighting for the regular. And then the guy who had the super belt, some funny business happened. They stripped him, and they had Tank fight for it. And that's how he got the super belt. Salute to my man Samusa. But I mean, to me, that was probably just maneuverings by Floyd Mayweather for his fighter. But it should not be any maneuverings. But when you talk about it, it's called hate. No, it's not hate. It's like, well, when other fighters go out of their way to challenge themselves and to actually do something in the sport so that they can go up in the rankings and fight the best fights, they're not getting that level of favoritism. They're not getting that level of maneuvering for them. So really, you're hating on those fighters to uplift Tank, Tank never really wanted to be, he never really wanted the pressure. He never really wanted to take boxing seriously like that. It is what it is. It was in his DNA. He started early, but at the end of the day, man, like, if you guys are content creators and you're pushing narratives and you're putting yourself out there, you are now a public figure. If you're a public figure and you have content and content's out there and you want people to consume the content, not everybody's going to love the content. Not everybody's going to agree with you. Some people are going to take your content, use it on their platform to have discussions. It is what it is. And that's what I do sometimes. And I will continue to do that. I will continue to do it because You can't just have one string of information out there. You have to have, people have to be able to. So my back, boy. So supposedly my phone overheated, and that's why my phone shut off. My back